really began to talk with all of us about why reframe this discussion around aging. Has he presented this to you? Have you seen this slide before? Yeah, it's great. So I love this. And I think that for those of you that haven't seen it, on the right side are comments that may come from the public, if you will. On the left side are thoughts that would come from experts in gerontological and aging experts. And in the middle are some questions. And I thought I'd just kind of go through this to frame the discussion for this morning or this evening. If we were to say, how should we approach aging? The public would generally say we should battle it and fight it versus embrace the fact that it's happening to all of us. And, what determines the outcomes and who's responsible for aging? And we might say, well, just us as individuals, but the reality is that the environment does play a key role in how we age and if we can age successfully. And how big of a concern is ageism? I think that many people are not aware that it is an issue, but for those of us in the industry, it's huge. And for those of us that are getting older and the olderness is starting to show, I see ageism coming out in how I'm treated all the time. It's very interesting to see this and watch this happen. And then what can be done to ensure well-being in older age? And many people say nothing, but we're here to say that there's plenty that we can do and plenty of things that the environment plays a role in. And that public policy, although some people think it's limited, it actually has a big role. So to just kind of think about reframing aging and eliminating ageism from our society and also from the matter in which we design. And the majority of the discussion today will take place around these 8 design factors that I've chosen to talk about and to discuss with you today. And so I'm going to ask all of you to either write these down, take a picture, because these 8 elements will be a part of the discussion and the remainder of our chat and time today. So I'll go through them. I think some of them are obvious, but the first one on the top is really about acoustics. And as we age, hearing can be really challenging. And so reducing distracting noise is essential. Many people are concerned about safety, obviously safety in terms of access, but also safe in terms of visibility and cleanliness and more. Many people cannot walk the long distances they used to. So really thinking about distance of travel and having opportunities for seating along the way. The integration of mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and lighting so that airflow isn't blowing on someone. There's not hot and cold zones. You can feel this on your body when you're sitting in some locations. I'm sure that you've had many discussions already around ergonomics, furniture that supports kind of what happens to us when we age, being able to be more mobile, getting in and out of chairs, etc., are a really important part of how we design. We know a lot about color, and that as we age, our vision literally changes. And yellow, we see things more yellow as our eyes age. So paying attention to color and pattern. And lighting itself, the comment here is about glare control. So really about designing lighting that reduces glare and supports the aging eye. And then technically, more about the actual specifications of the elements that are in environments, both exterior and interior, and really about the durability, the cleanliness, and how we actually specify the products and materials to last and support older adults and aging. And aging happens at all times along our life. It isn't just necessarily, when you see someone in a walker. So does everyone have these 8 elements written down? Do you need more time? Because this is now the part that is the discussion. And I am going to assume that all of you know how to hover at the bottom of your Zoom. You can raise your hand if you click on the reactions. So if you don't raise your hand when we move forward, Dr. Uma is going to call on someone on each photograph, and you're going to be a part of a discussion with us. So those of you that are in a room with 25 people, be prepared. You may be called on more than once. So what I've done is gathered a series of photographs. And so this is the part where I'm going to say to you, okay, here's a photograph of 4 women in a space. And you can choose a design factor. You can say a positive thing about one of the 8 design factors, or you can mention something about a design factor you have a question for me. And I will kick this one off. And I am going to choose the design factor ergonomics. And I'm going to ask those of you on the phone about the size of the chair, how the women are sitting in the chair. And I just want you to look and pay attention. And much about understanding about aging and design is about tuning your eyes to what you see. So I see that these women are sitting in a chair that's pretty deep, right? Can you see the depth of that chair? And can you see that many of them are leaning forward and sitting on the front edge of it because it's too deep for their back to actually touch the back of the chair? So there's a cushion there, which in some case is helping. This looks like her cushion might be taller. But in the width of the chair, look at the width of the chair as well. Although we may get some girth in our age, we do tend to shrink. So in this case, I think her feet are hitting the ground, but I can't really tell. So the seat height might be a little too tall for women of this particular age. It's too deep for people of this age, but you could modify the depth by having cushions like they've done here. And it does appear to be really wide. So you can see how she's seated on one side of the chair, because if she sits in the middle, she wouldn't be able to reach any of the arms. So this may be good for a man who is, or a woman who is 6 feet tall or more, who has a little bit longer leg and a deeper body, if you will. In other words, the dimension from the knee to the back of the seat is longer. So I am just going to stop at that point and say, sometimes in a setting like this, you might choose to have options of chair sizes so that ergonomically you can choose the chair that fits your body. Kind of like the is it Cinderella? Who is it that goes and sits in the bed that's too hard, too soft, whatever. So I am going to now ask Dr. Uma to call on someone, anyone, and for you to either continue the discussion of ergonomics or bring up something else that you see in this room that you'd like to call to our attention, either positive or could be improved upon.
We have a volunteer, Catherine.
Yes, I may regret this, but thank
No,
you.
Great.
I wanted to actually talk a little bit more about the chairs, if you don't mind, because I'm looking at the lady in the pink sweater down the back. I'm guessing a positive is obviously having those handles on the side so that she can help herself get in and out of the chair. But to me, it looks like getting out or even in might be challenging because her legs are fairly long. And my guess is she's going to need to use the arms to sort of push herself out. Have you come across that a lot? And what sort of recommendations would you have for people? I'm thinking of, my own mother can't get in chairs that are too low because, it takes a team of us to get her back out again.
Yes, those are very good points. You can see these are actually different chairs now that I look at it. You see how this, and are you seeing my pointer when I move my pointer around? Great. So you can see how the arm of this chair extends just a little past this leg, and the arm of this chair stops for the leg. And I believe these two chairs are very similar, not identical. So this chair might support getting up a little more because you can put your hand here and it's a little bit in front of the seat rather than behind the seat. I think if this woman's in the pink slid back slightly, that she would be able to use the arm on this chair. But this is, it may be a little detail where the arm is placed, but it's an important one because if it is out a little further, you can use it to leverage yourself to get out of the chair. So thank you for continuing the discussion. And you can't really tell. This is really why it's important to test things, test the chairs, test the products, do a sit test, line them up in a row and have people of all ages and sizes sit in them. This looks pretty firm. The woman in the red doesn't look like it's moving down much. This looks like it might be a little more soft. And so thinking about the density of the foam, so specifications would be another design factor you might consider here. The specification of the density of the foam in that cushion so that it's firm enough and comfortable enough to get in and out of.
We have another hand up, Paul.
All right, thank you. When I look at the photo, I notice that it's all on tile and hard surface that appears to be polished. So not knowing the weight of the chairs, my concern would be that the chair is going to move and slide as you're pushing your weight against it to help you stand up and sit down.
That's an interesting point as well. The chair does look sturdy. I think that's a very good question. So in your selection of the product, this chair, you could sit in it, you could put it on a hard surface and you can get in and out and see if it slides. I happen to have been in this space. This chair in this particular instance doesn't slide, but you bring up another point about the hard surface, and we could talk about the design factor of acoustics. In addition to the chair and its safety, if you will, which was what you were talking about. Because there are a lot of hard surfaces in here. There's the texture of the cushions, but it might have acoustical material in this baffled ceiling that would help a bit. But you could have an acoustic challenge here if there are many people sitting over here talking, or maybe if even there was music playing loudly. So those are very good points. I'm going to move to the next photo.
And Tama, we have another question from
Sure.
Natalie. Okay, and that could be the last one for this
Sure,
topic.
absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Natalie?
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
I'm on my phone, so sorry about that. I just had a comment about this picture. I'm thinking of it from the point of it being like wheelchair accessible. So on the one hand, the person before me mentioned how there's no carpeting, which is great because it makes it a lot easier for a wheelchair to get in. But these chairs look heavy and they look big. So if one of them needed to be moved to accommodate a wheelchair, it looks a little difficult. And there's not a lot of space in that area to get a wheelchair in. I mean, there's a little bit right there in the front, but even so, I think to be accommodating, you'd have to move some of those chairs and they just look big and heavy and awkward.
Yeah, so it is interesting how to balance the need, right? You would want it heavy so it wouldn't slide, and yet you wouldn't want it so heavy that if you wanted another person here in a wheelchair, it looks like they could come around and also sit here, but making that discussion and understanding about if you wanted to have a wheelchair, how could you accommodate it in the setting? It's a very good point. Thank you for bringing it up.
Sure.
I'm grateful that everyone's talking. Thank you very much. So here we have another photograph. It is a pool in a beautiful setting that is sunny. And I would maybe talk about safety as a starting point. There is a great ramp here for someone to walk down and into the water. And it appears to have railings on both sides. And it looks like an easy way. Well, easy, it's long, but an easy-ish way to get in and out that you don't have to step and walk upstairs getting in and out of this pool. So another design factor was distance of travel. It is a long ramp, but I think because of the depth of the pool, it is the required kind of slope required for that distance. How about we just ask for one other comment on this photo so we can get through them all? What other thoughts might you have on this photo about the design factors we're talking about today? I see Amy. I'm just going to call out your name, Amy, because you just happen to be here in my.
Sure. Yeah, actually, I have a thought on the furniture.
Mhm.
The poolside furniture. Not only does it not look that safe for this population, but it's not very appealing. So I don't maybe, and safe, like that would be very hard for an older adult to sit in, to get in and out of.
Got it. Yep. And, I think in intergenerational spaces where we have people of all ages, really thinking through how to appeal to people of all ages is an important aspect of it. It is the same product everywhere, which makes a nice aesthetic if you want it kind of balanced, and yet very few loungers are easy to get in and out of, right? So, at least there is a little arm that you can see, but paying attention and testing those things, I think, is a very good point. Thank you for bringing that up. I'll go on to the next photo so you can see them all. So here we have a living space, and it's an independent living unit. You can see that there is a balcony space and some light. And maybe the one element that I will talk about in this image is glare control. So I see that there is a shade pocket here, and there's the chain for a shade to come down. And so, dealing with glare, I think it's fantastic. There is an outdoor space and a balcony, and they can open a door and go outside. But really managing glare control in a space is important. It could potentially have been, the glare could possibly be reduced by the design of the outside. If there was a bit of an overhang, it would prevent the sun from shining in. So why don't we open this up for one more comment about this project? And I am just going to call on Caroline Peliquin, if you're able to chat. If not, we can ask someone else.
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
Excellent. Yes, we can.
So for me, my grandmother lives in a unit very similar to this. It's not as pretty, but it's very similar. So for me, the distance of travel from the bedroom to the living room is super noticeable, because even though her bedroom is close by, she likes to sleep on the couch because it's easier for her to get up. So kind of having that option between, if she wanted to move to her bed, it wouldn't be that far away, is something that I think is important, especially in homes like this where it's assisted living.
Thank you for that comment. It's true. And it probably, if that was an option here, this may not be long enough to sleep on. And so that might be something else to consider.
She likes to sleep sitting up. So honestly,
sitting up. So there you go. I love it. I love it. Thank you for your comment. All right. So the next photograph, it's like people making things. And I'm going to talk about ergonomics again. I think ergonomics is an important aspect. And I think it looks like the height of this table is working really well if you're seated when you're painting or crafting. You can see that there is an easel here, but this gentleman is painting standing, and you can see this probably isn't a good posture for a long period of time to be doing this activity. So perhaps a portion of this table could have be on an ergonomic, riser, and maybe could have been lifted up. Perhaps there could be a series of tables along a different portion of the room that are taller. I can't tell. It looks like this table is the same height as that, but there could be a stand-up counter, like this counter could have been equipped to do painting on as well. So just paying attention to the task that's going to be done and the height of the workstation or work surface that it's being done on. Vera has her hand raised.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. I'm driving, so I can't really tell if the functions are working properly. But I do have a comment, and I don't know if this is the forum for it. But as I look through all the photographs that you've shared so far, these are all spaces where people who have money frequent. So I'm wondering if this conversation of environment is taking place in spaces where people from lower socioeconomic status frequent, you know, like office spaces or things like that, where the customer or the people that it's being made for are not so well to do.
I think that's a very good point. I happen to just choose photos to talk about the topics that I'm on, but I believe that the characteristics of the design factors are important in any environment, regardless of the cost of the environment or how it's designed. So, you know, good point. We have other images that you can see are outdoor spaces, and we can talk about access and the importance of access for people of all ages and walks of life. I'm going to move on to the next photo. So here is a photograph of a space. It happens to be a health space, and you can see it has natural light, it has hard surfaces, it has a little inlay of carpet. I am going to talk about MEP integration on this slide, which is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and I'm going to talk about lighting. You can't really see, except for right at the edges, any of the mechanical system in here, which I actually like, that somehow it's not so obvious. It's not the first thing you see when you see the ceiling is how the mechanical has big vents. I like the fact that there is places that there's solid walls for art or electronic display, but yet there's spaces for visibility. I think maybe in designing this lighting, it looks like perhaps there are too many lights in the space. So I would love to see a photograph of this space, you know, in the evening to determine the light and the foot candles. My guess is the light is in pools below here in the evening. And so I think that a more maybe washing the light, you can see that there's more of a wash of light kind of by this gentleman that's sitting in a chair. It is a hard surface, so you can see many people here are in wheelchairs and can move easily on this hard surface. It does appear it's kind of tight between this desk and this column for two people in a wheelchair to pass. So really thinking about distance of travel and space for traveling, can two wheelchairs pass in this space, because it looks like it's too tight over here as well. Why don't, Dr. Uma, why don't you call in someone else to bring out one component of this project?
Julie?
I was just observing the benefit of having two different counter heights. So this can serve both somebody who is a wheelchair user, but then if you look deeper into the photo, the woman who is standing has a counter height that's appropriate for her. So that seems to serve everyone.
Very good point. Thank you. Okay, retail space. You can see that there's counters and there's products on it. I'm not exactly sure the kind of store it is, but you generally can see it. Maybe a little bit about glare control. You can see the reflection of these products in the window out multiple times because of the kind of just trying to balance the visibility of seeing into a retail space and not having the glare, I think is something we're constantly struggling with. Going back to the heights that Julie just talked about, it looks like the height of these products are easy to stand at and look at. What I'm uncertain of is, would they support someone in a wheelchair? And are they too tall? So really, I'm not sure what this product is that's up here, but I think a wheelchair head is about this height. If I look at this woman, if I go back a slide, this gentleman's is about this woman's shoulder height. So if you think of the head being at the shoulder height, you probably could see these things, but you wouldn't be able to see and access elements that are that tall. I will let Dr. Uma call on someone else to make a comment on this slide.
How about someone from the classroom? Moira?
Hello, I'm going to come up on, you can see everybody in the classroom. I will jump in, and then if anyone wants to add something in, we've been sort of chiming in along the way. So one thing I noticed here in the space with the drop ceiling on the left side, is that an acoustical material?
It is.
It is, so it helps with the offset some of the flooring. Sound bouncing around. That's a really great product.
Sharp eyes. Thank you for noticing.
They're sharper in here. Oh, hands are up. Can I answer one for the classroom?
Of course.
All right, yes.
I don't know if those chairs in the bar is for like resting, but then is there like space for people to take a seat and kind of?
So they're noticing the stools at the back. Are they up? Or can they be perching stools that are appropriate, or are they for someone to rest?
Yeah, good point. I think that there's a counter here. They could be pulled out. They probably could be pulled around, you know, to sit at different place, but they are providing a seat should someone want to sit down and still shop. Good points. Thank you very much, Moira and team.
Enjoy. Thank you.
All right, the almighty restroom. I actually really like this space. I love that. Well, it looks really clean, right? So it feels clean. It feels safe to me. This flooring looks like it might have a slight texture to it, so it's not slippery. It's open to go into the shower. There's visibility into the shower to keep the water from splashing, but it's still private. It has a fantastic toilet that has all kinds of cleaning options with it. And I think it is well outfitted. And the specifications to specify the tile, the grab bars, the backing for the grab bars, the location of the toilet paper so it doesn't get wet from the shower, the grab bar that is elegant and also looks kind of like it could be a towel rail. I will leave it at that. And let's see, how about I call on Pamela Buso, perhaps, if you're in the mood to chat.
Yeah, it's Bueso.
Thank you.
I would say that I also like this design, and I noticed that there is so many handbars that is really useful. But I just have one thing that I just tried. Like, I'm not sure if color white, like too much white, it is helpful for aging. That's my comment.
That's a good point. Sometimes the contrast does help, you know, to see the toilet and get to the toilet. So I do think that the toilet is visible from the color of the floor, which is slightly, I guess, gray, granity-like in material. And I also, this is just my personal perspective, and again, you can disagree, but I think when you age, it doesn't have to look ugly and look like something someone younger wouldn't want to use. And I think part of balancing this is that it looks clean and modern, and it would be suitable for anyone of any age, even a child. And I think that really is supportive design for all ages. Next photograph.
Oh, we have Leslie's hand up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Leslie.
Hi. So I just had two quick things. One is in the shower, do you notice on the wall high up is where they put all of the toiletries? So someone in this shower, I would assume is, you know, it's a rolling in, I'm hoping that there is integrated seating on the other side that we just can't see. that doesn't work. It's too tall and it's too far and it's slippery. The other thing with the toilet, I don't know if anyone else has come up with this problem, but these bidet seats push you forward a lot. So when you have the elongated seat with the bidet seat, it's almost becomes too short and it becomes more of a hindrance than a help. So sometimes if you're dealing with someone with incontinence or that they need to use different things, this is actually more of a problem.
Those are good points. Thank you very much, Leslie. I can't quite tell if this is a towel. And this was obviously a staged photograph. So yeah, there's no towels hanging in here. I wonder where and it's really interesting. Specifying a toilet isn't as easy as one would think, because there's all kinds of options, like you mentioned, about size of the bowl, length of the bowl. And this bidet has been applied versus built in. So it does push the seat forward, like you said. So very important things to specify, the whole component about specifications and the importance of that. Thank you for your comments. Okay, here we have a room that is a little bit more traditional in space. And rather than me giving your opinion, since you guys are all chatting, how about we pick two people to talk about their thoughts of this? How about Jessica Bantam? Hi, Jessica. Sometimes everyone can't get off mute, which is fine. How about, there's a woman here just with Lisa as her name. Lisa, do you have any comments?
Hi, yeah, I was noticing the seats and how most of those, they all look like they would probably be easier to get in and out of, although they are bunched really closely together for wheelchairs or things like that.
Good point, thank you. Seat height, ergonomics. What do you think about kind of just the tone of color in this space? We haven't talked much about color, but if someone chats about color. Grace, are you in the mood to chat about color? Grace D. Armand. Oh, she's smiling. Thank you, Grace.
I mean, I don't know much about it in terms of like aging, but I think there's a good balance with the colors in this group. So I think they wouldn't like mind it, I guess.
Thank you. And Catherine, do you want to go next, and then Sarah?
Great. Yeah, again, I'm no expert either, but I would think that it's a nice sort of relaxing level of light, like not too much glare, although my question would be if someone wanted to read or something like that, is there enough light to do that? If I may, I wanted to ask a question about the rug. How do sort of rugs fit in with general safety and distance of travel and all of that sort of thing when we think about these factors?
Good point. Sarah, do you want to comment too, and then we can answer?
Well, Catherine took both of mine. Thanks, Catherine. I was going to say that the room seems a little bit dim in terms of lighting. I also think the furniture is very close together. Like if you wanted to walk sort of past that blue chair in the front to the rightish to move over to the sofa, it's very tight. That scares me. And the rug, I agree with Catherine, that rug, that lip of that rug, unless it's taped down with like double-sided tape, that's definitely a trip hazard.
Yeah, I agree with all the comments. The color, the closest of the chairs, and
we have one more from the classroom.
Oh, okay, go ahead. Go ahead, classroom.
Hello from the classroom. So we had a question here about the contrast between the blues and the chairs and the blues and the carpets. So
okay, the color piece. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, going back, you're asking about the colors. Would that be a
Perfect.
challenge?
So, you know, it's interesting that this is such a stark contrast to kind of the other photographs that I've chosen, right? It feels a little, it's more traditional, it's a little darker, it's a little moodier. I think if my eyes were yellowing, and you can get glasses with yellow lenses on them to put on your eyes so that you can literally see, well, what would a layer of yellow do to this? I think it's a little too dark and a little, like a little bit brighter colors in the blue palette would be easier to see for the eye. If this carpet was just back slightly, right? So if it was at the edges of the chairs, if maybe like 9 inches was cut off this rug so it looked like you could get around it, I think the photograph is a bit deceiving, the distance here. You know, I don't think we should just have spaces with cold, sterile, hard surfaces with no rugs. So it's more expensive, but you could cut this product, inlay the rug so it's flat, right? That would be ideal so that it's not taped on top, but it's inset. And it's expensive to do that. So, you know, I think adding this color of the rug here and the pattern is beautiful. You know, adding that texture really layers on the hospitality feel of this. I think anyone would have a hard time sliding in, right? It looks like there's maybe 12 inches here and 12 inches here. So, you know, you probably would have to pull this blue chair out to actually get into this seating. But I bet if you're sitting there with some people, it would be very intimate, right? That the conversation could be intimate because these 4 chairs are for someone that's a little smaller. The sofa is for someone that's a little deeper, right? So you have options of places. I also like that you have many choices of places to sit in how to group. You can choose a chair with a lower seat height on the left. You can choose a more kind of quiet space over here. Maybe this could be for reading, but really understanding how the space could be utilized. Let's see, the rug, the tripping, the color. I think that this light blue, because these lights are literally shining on it, see how the lights have been focused literally on these elements? You can see this blue over this blue. And I am okay with the fact that it is kind of tone on tone in this instance because there's other options here that aren't that. Oh, we got more people. All right, Tiffany and then Diana. Or Diane. Yeah, Diana. Tiffany.
Hi, I just wanted to comment on the auditory aspect of the environment that we haven't really touched on too much today. In this environment, a couple of things. And I think the very first photo you showed with the 4 seats, I was thinking of it in that context as well, where, you know, you have to kind of balance the ability of people to maneuver around the couches and chairs here, but it also seems like it allows them to become close enough to hear each other. But then on the flip side, you have multiple, this is kind of an open concept, right? You have seating on both sides. And so there's a lot of potential distractions and there's conversations happening on behind you on either side, you know, compared to the group that you're sitting with and trying to talk with. So I think, you know, most homes, including my own, have gone open concept, but I feel like there's, you know, pros and cons to that from an aging perspective to consider.
Thank you. Diana.
My apologies if someone mentioned this already. The thing that makes me nervous about this picture is the sort of smallerish side tables with the lamps. To me, they are an easy target for falling down and, you know, being hit accidentally. I can totally see those lamps not lasting a long time. I think they're at an awkward height, right at the point of someone's elbow. I think they can be easily elbowed. I think they could be easily knocked at the table by a walker or a wheelchair or a cane. And I could just, I would recommend in this space that they alter, like with floor lamps, not to get rid of all of them, but just to have some options for people who may lack some stability in their movement and their gait to get around, because it is a tightly packed area.
Good point. And you can see that the lamp in the back does, you know, it's a floor lamp and it feels sturdier. Good points. I'm going to move on because I'm on slide 11 of 30, and I'm not going to get through all 30, but I'm really grateful that you guys are talking. This is similar to this in terms of probably your comments would be alike. So I'm going to go to these two slides. So here is, I'm not going to describe it. Someone give me a comment or a thought about this space for people that are slightly older. And again, it's people of all ages. Leslie.
Hi. My first thought was nope. It's I mean, I'm only in my 40s and I don't want to sit in that. It just, you having to scooch in and out, and you see the person in the purple who's sitting on the table. I think acoustically, once you're in there, it's probably just fine, but you're going to have someone who you have to help transfer in. And then when they need to get out, that to try to get out of a chair with no handles, so they're hanging onto you, hanging onto the table. I think this is great if you're able-bodied and very mobile, but otherwise it's going to be a problem.
So hold on, Leslie, and what do you think about this photo then?
I don't, and this might be me, my mom has MS, and so I am used to working on the daily basis with someone who has mobility issues. You're going to have someone, again, if you're rolling up, then maybe that's fine and you're sitting on the outside, but then you're in the walkway. If you need to transfer to those chairs, again, there's nothing to help you when you try to move up and down, and then you're going to try to use the table. The table is not bolted in. The chairs are not bolted in. It looks like, I think it's an accident waiting to happen. I don't like booths for this reason, if at all possible.
So it's really interesting. So my father and mother in their 80s would only sit in a booth. They would always ask for a booth at every restaurant they went to. And they wanted it because they could hear each other. And they would sit on the edges here. I mean, they would sit like, on this edge. This does look sturdier, yes. But they always wanted to sit in the booth because they had acoustic privacy. So it is interesting. I think you bring up very good points, Leslie. And I also was curious if people would say they wouldn't sit in here because of the age of the people in the photograph versus the age of the people in the photograph here. And what we see happening in marketing is that they tend to show things at certain ages and market to certain ages and forget about the fact that this couple or these two people sitting here could easily been put in this photo shoot, but they chose not to. So this was more about, would someone say this isn't appropriate and this one is, because literally the models are older. But you bring up very good points. This isn't bolted in, this is, so you could lean on this. Yeah, I wouldn't support someone sitting on the back edge of this booth, but hey, welcome to people of all ages. And I also, part of this discussion is about what do we call ageism, and at what age are you old? I'm going to move past this one because I already know what you're all going to say about this swinging chair. I personally think we should have stairs in places to support ability and to have people practice taking the stair, but I don't think that they should be limited to only having stairs. I'm going to go to these next two photographs again to illustrate. Okay, which space would you rather work out in? This space or this space? This space A, this space B. So I'm going to ask people to let's see here, how could I vote on this? If you would like to work out in this space, raise your hand.
Establish all of the points. But I think it was an opportunity to
So from my looking at it, if I count the 25 people in one room, a lot of people have raised their hands in this. Thank you. You can figure out how to unraise your hand. And part of my discussion with these two photographs is these are the right chair to be sitting in to do this exercise, but the space is not inspired at all. And I am sad to think that we design spaces for older people that look like this, and we design spaces for people of all ages that look like this. Now, granted, we could remove all of this. We could put those chairs here. We could get rid of these bikes and move them, but the space itself is more inspiring. Does every single space for an old person have to look like this with 2x2 tiles? This could be an office, right? So my plea was stop designing uninspiring space for people that are old. We need to be inspired also. I'm going to ask the classroom your thoughts about this carpet, if you don't mind, Moira.
Yeah. Anyone have a thought? Yes. Okay. Oh, it would be super. Suggesting it would be super confusing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because of it might be perceived as a whole, the contrast, it would be very potentially hard to navigate if you had dementia. It's playful, but yes, I brought this up because I think, the contrast is really a lot for someone that might be suffering from any kind of memory disease. I brought this image in to think about acoustics again in multiple spaces. So it's a fun coffee area. I think we should design spaces like this for people of all ages. There's plenty of space to get by if you had a wheelchair or if you needed to pull a wheelchair. I think the space is supporting of it, but it does, like you've said in other comments, it does look loud, right? I'm looking at your faces if you're shaking your heads. A library. So again, my thought, and because we're running out of time, what I was going to say about this is I think there's great natural light. I love the fact that there's carpet. I bet it's quiet in here, right? It kind of feels quiet. I love the fact there's tables and chairs that you can sit at versus chairs. This is an arm, but I do think this chair would be hard to get in and out of. And I love the fact that there's a variety in color, that it swivels, but I would love to see just a different kind of chair, maybe in every other grouping that was a little bit more supportive of someone with an arm. I think the lighting feels right. Feels like you would have great natural light and artificial light. I think it looks like this is all an acoustical ceiling. So again, elements to consider. This was a clinic. And I wanted to just point out that there's a variety of ways for people to wait that doesn't have to look like bus stop seating. You're close to the exam room, so you wouldn't have to travel a far distance. This happens to be an eye exam, so it's not like you're going to look in on someone. This is a university. We've taken the atrium and put it on the outside of the building. And I was going to talk a little bit about safety because you can be seen and you're visible. And that Columbia is opening up their university to non-degree seeking people of all ages. So really thinking about multiple generations going back to school, getting 3rd, 4th, 5th degrees, or just taking classes because they love learning, and how we need to design environments for that. And then these next few slides, we only have a few minutes. We're really about outdoor spaces. And so I'm kind of trying to illustrate that we need to think about this in every space, right? Every place we go to. Where is there accessibility? How can we create places that are joyful? How do we design cities that have, access to nature and scale and variety, access to trails? And I'll end on this photograph and maybe ask for a couple comments. I was just going to indicate to me that, this is a retail place with no cars. So you're not distracted. It's safe. You can sit between the distances. It's for people of all generations. And I really want to, I guess, reiterate the fact that it's really important to design not just for the elderly, but for people of all ages, because if it works for someone old, it also usually works for someone young. So any last one or two comments on this photograph? Your last chance to call in someone, Dr. Uma.
Well, maybe I can make a comment about this. I like the fact that there is a place to sit. If, let's say, after walking for a while, if I'm tired, I could rest for some time.
Great.
And we have a Center for Optimal Aging.
I was just wondering, because I know this looks great and it is kind of inspiring and it does seem like it's built for all ages, but I'm wondering without access to parking, how like the traveling distance might kind of be a factor when designing these types of places. And that could be that could impede sort of how older adults kind of engage in these types of environments. Because I know the mall is always very tough when I go with my grandmother, but sort of thought of that as a factor.
Well, imagine that there's a shuttle and it drops you off just right at the front of this walking area, or that there are golf carts, or I hate to call them golf carts, but there are autonomous vehicles that take you from your home to this place or take you from your car to this place, you know, reimagining the world without cars buzzing by and, you know, being a traffic hazard. So design matters in how we plan our cities and our streets and our storefronts. We're out of time. So I'm thrilled that we had such an engaging audience. Thank you so very much. And hopefully you'll remember, these are just a few of the design factors. I chose these 8. There are probably hundreds more we could talk about, but I thought there was at least the differentium between these and distinction between these to, you know, interest a variety of people. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Tama. This was very engaging, and I can say that I have definitely learned something about design that would help me in my aging.
That's great.
Yeah, Tama, thank you so much. And I will say, in case if anyone has a question for you, how they can contact you or they should contact us. Okay.
Yeah, the email is here. Let's see, I don't know if I can make this any bigger, but I'll leave it here.
Okay, that sounds good. And they're welcome to contact us as well.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone, for having me and for engaging. That was the best part, actually.
Well, thank you so much for doing this terrific presentation for us today. I'm sure our classroom enjoy it, and thank you for our students' participation as well, and for everyone, and have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.